Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sustainable Schools Virtual Summit. And guess who we have here today? You're not going to believe this. Tell us who you are. Tell us who this amazing guest is here today. Go for it.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon to all from the UAE, and I think it is just turned afternoon in the UK, so good afternoon as well. So I'm Erfan Firouzi, and I've been researching on animals and plants for the past 6 years. And that sounds quite a long time, but being in the natural world, that sounds very less, because it's biodiversity, biological diversity. The amount of biodiversity on the planet is beyond our imagination. So yes, researching on animals and plants for the past 6 years. And the past 2 years started writing my own book and about Earth, our living planet, and making videos, podcasts about how we can save our beautiful planet Earth that we call it home.
But Erfan, you haven't told us how old you are.
I am 16, turning 17 this May.
So you started your mission, started 6 years ago when you were 10 years old.
Yes, that would sound right. I loved animals and plants, and I collected them when I was around 7 or 8 years old. I still have that small box of animals that is 10 years now. And but I started my main research on biodiversity, the threats to biodiversity, exactly when I was 10.
Now, you are going to a very special school. You go to a school called the Westminster School in Dubai.
Yes, ma'am.
And the Westminster School is an Educate Global Bronze Award and an Educate Global Silver Award school. They're not yet gold. We're pushing them to get the gold award. You're going to be doing that, you know, you and your cohorts and your eco team members, your eco leaders. And we've had the pleasure of, remember, you joined us with the whole eco team. Remember that day when you came and you did a talk and you all pledged to the planet and you said, this is what we're going to do. This is our manifesto. Now, I want to ask you, as a member of that TWS Educate Global Eco team, I want to know what it takes to be a leader in your school to start bringing all of the pupils together to understand this importance of sustainability and adaptation and mitigation. Tell me about that, Erfan.
Of course, ma'am, I believe that, every action, whether it's, making action regarding plastic pollution or climate change, or any action, let's say, into sports, all requires an understanding and understanding. And this, in this point of, sustainability, is the understanding of the natural world, of what, we depend on and what we need to fight for our own survival and well-being. And it's truly astonishing that when one school, let's say our school, takes action in such field, there can be, different ways in which other schools will get inspired by us and take action, and that inspiration can lead to a whole new level of all people joining their hands together and doing something for our living planet. So it's always, inspiring and making people understand of what's going on around us, because people usually think, okay, the natural world is only something which we love, but only as Sir David Attenborough says, the natural world is not just nice to have, it fundamentally matches to every single one of us.
Yeah, it does, Erfan. Erfan, I want to ask you something. You've been interviewed very recently in some magazines. Did you get me some copies of that so that we can share that with our viewers today? If you're joining us watching this talk, or if you're on the podcast, because this will also be added to the Sustainable Schools podcast, you can come back to this page. We'll put the link to it so that you can see all of Erfan's presentation. Can you show us, can you share your screen with us and show us just some of these articles that you are appearing in, that you are taking part in? Now,
yes, I'm sure
you've got to know here that this is a young lad who is 16. You're 16 years old, Erfan.
Yes, ma'am, yeah.
And you are appearing in magazines and you are being interviewed and you are writing articles and you are writing features and you are delivering your own YouTube channel. You have your own podcast. You have your own, I mean, this is unprecedented. So I want to get into your psyche, because how can I how can I bottle you and make you in the billions? How's that possible? How can I have billions of you, Erfan? How's that?
Of course, I think taking action for our planet. I've always, there's always, especially in my sessions that I have, let's say on Saturday, people come and ask me like, if I don't want to be like you or doing, research on animals and plants in such a detail, how can I take action for the planet? And there are many things that we can all do. It's not about like researching on nature, because of course not all are interested. Some may, like be disgusted by the insects above my head. So we cannot always force them to come and take action. But it's always, the understanding. Like I think that the biggest step we all can take is, avoiding waste, energy waste or food or water, because these can be recycled in some sort of way. And the main thing, which is energy, because we know, as we studied in physics, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So it keeps on, being turned to different things. It never gets destroyed. And I think the main thing is inspiration, ma'am, and understanding. Like most people usually think that, okay, I see in front of me a beetle, a rhinoceros beetle, let's say, and I don't depend on it. So they go and stamp on it, but they don't know that that very beetle is in charge of keeping the populations of the palm trees in check. They're in charge of the soil fertility. So we depend on it. So the main thing I believe is understanding, and I felt that you understand the natural world, and you will find curiosity and happiness everywhere.
Erfan, can you share your screen with me, please, and show me that amazing article that you sent to me? Is that possible?
Yes, Amma, but unfortunately I have on my camera. Is that fine?
That's all right.
Okay.
I'm amazed. I love all these photographs. Erfan, when you send me your messages, you brighten my day. I see these articles, I see these features, I see all this incredible stuff that you send me. And I just think, this is a 16-year-old that is contacting journalists, writing articles, writing features, filming, has a regular YouTube channel. I will share all the links to Erfan's YouTube channel and all of his talks that he does and his podcast. If when it's like the other day when I met Sania, she was from India, and she would not let me go. She insisted that I do a Zoom with her and help her. She wanted some information. And I said to her, Sonia, how old are you? And she said, I'm 15 years old. And I said, this isn't possible, because a 15-year-old doesn't do this. This is not normal. And she said, yes, this is. I wanted to speak to you. And I just said, okay, fine, look at this. There you go. Erfan's showing us.
Yes, and this, for example, is actually the let's say behind the scenes of the article. The same magazine posted the details on actually what happened on that time.
It's fabulous. Erfan, how did you set up that interview? Did you know the lady that was interviewing you, or the journalist?
Yes, she was actually a child actually participating in the BIA competition. So what happened was that she found my account, and she's like, I'm doing this environmental news paper for the magazine for the whole UAE's environmental journey. So I was like, okay. And then she's like, I want to interview you to talk about what actually inspired you to become an environmentalist, what we can all do as individuals, and all these such things about, all the research that I've done on all these things. So she's actually 15, and yeah, her magazine was about the BIA competition, and I'll be sharing with the magazine also with you shortly as well.
So she was 15, and her name is Leah Manessa.
No, that's actually the people I think who liked it. Her name is Daniela.
She's from Our Earth magazine.
Yeah, she's from Our Earth magazine. Yeah.
I'm amazed. You know what? We need to do a follow-on talk with the two of you together. You need to both come and do a Sustainable Schools Virtual Summit, the two of you together, and tell us how you've done this much, because 15 years old and 16 years old, you are both inspirational.
Thank you. So this was actually the magazine which she worked on, because I was only the interview part. So called our Earth magazine. So it's basically about the building a better tomorrow together.
Wow, wow, wow.
And here I've got the purpose. The same purpose is also mentioned in my website as well. So it is it contains life-saving environmental concerns that require immediate attention and response for the readers and those who have heard about disease yet.
Wow, wow.
And he has got all these sort of things about the sustainability in the UAE and different places. So here is his contents, which you have got the interview with an environmentalist, which is myself, and environmental challenge and solutions. And we've got the facts and environmental related events.
We've got to, I think what we need to do, Erfan, is we must have a link to this magazine.
Yes, and the link is actually available on my website.
Interview. Wow.
Yes, and this is my interview. So these are all the questions she asked me. She asked me, what inspired you to become an environmentalist? And so I gave all the details on actually why I turned out to be an environmentalist. Was it only because of research, or was it because of only nature, or was it because of the impacts I saw that really made me, you know, the saddest I can tell being on Earth when I see, you know, all these animals dying due to plastic pollution, climate change, and the dependency on us on these animals is just beyond our expectations.
Erfan, how do you feel when you work together with somebody, because you've worked together with this amazing young journalist as a team? This is a team effort. How do you feel when you see your interview online, in print, when you see this, when you can share this with a much wider audience? How do you feel about that?
Ma'am, I can tell that it's a great form of inspiration. Of course, something which is, we can say, of course, you'll be always excited and proud that, okay, you're going to, you know, be interviewed and you're shared online with many millions of people. However, the main thing is that the happiest thing that people feel, okay, as I was speaking to Adam from UK around 1 month back, he's also a wildlife lover and he's such an expert in the field. And he has a Instagram account about Adam Stocks Wild, so he speaks about all these animals and facts and challenges. So I spoke to him, is like, it doesn't matter how much, you know, followers or subscribers you have. Let's say you have 100. If you from that 100, you inspire one person, that's going to make a global impact. Because like that one person inspired by what I do, and he can take the same action. So the main thing which makes you feel excited, I'm okay. It's not that 20 more years, there won't be any elephants on Earth. That by seeing my magazine, people can get inspired and take their own actions. They can find my account and come and ask me, like, what can I do as an individual to save our planet? And it's not only this that is, of course, a teamwork, but the documentary I'm working on recently contains people from almost across the globe. We have got the same Lee Manners, as you saw, from Australia, a great animal artist, 15 years. And we have got Matthew from Malta, who's also, you know, researching on the Maltese wildlife, and he's, I think, also 15. We have got the Moti, which is Mario from he lives in Abu Dhabi, but I think he's from Italy, and he lives in US. So we have got all these different people speaking about their passion, about what they have seen in the natural world and what they can do to save it. And this all relates with a great inspiration for people who live around us, and like what we can do to save the natural world. Like, it's
So
actually because of the
how do you fly there, or do you talk on Zoom, or what do you do? How do you meet them?
Actually, it was a whole behind the scenes sort of thing. So there was actually, when I started documentary, it was unbelievable because we turned out to have 50 entries in the first time for joining documentary alone. And then I was like, okay, 50 entries is a lot, because a documentary with only 6 episodes having 50 people in it is going to be beyond, you know, our expectations. So I've got a friend whose name is Zayan. So he helped me is like, from all these 50, of course, all these members who are a part of this documentary are not at all in the 50 list. But then they're all very talented about wildlife, like the same Lee Manners, great artist on the natural world. And he draws all these realistic images of this thing. And I asked him, will it be okay with you, for example, I met her in Zoom, and I'm like, will it be okay with you if you join us in the documentary and speak about how nature really inspired you to do such amazing artworks? And the same thing, I had a meeting day before yesterday on Wednesday with the same Moti Mario from who lives in Abu Dhabi on Zoom with his mother. And he said, because he's also a very passionate child in wildlife, 11 years old, and he's gone almost to many places in the world. So it's like we have got the best thing for a documentary. We have got a whale shark which visited Abu Dhabi, and we went to Africa and we saw all these the poachers cut the horns of the rhinos, or then they paint the rhino's horns. So the value of the rhino horn decreases, so they won't be poached by the hunters. So these all the people who protect the animals, or the guardians, actually whether they cut the horns by themselves or paint the horns in order to decrease the amount that the rhino horns are killed for. Because like we know that rhino horns are made from the same material that our fingernails and hair is made of, keratin. So, and there is no any proof that it has got truly valuable medicine source. So that's why they hunt it to extinction. Because, for example, the northern white rhino, it's extinct. There are only 2 females on Earth, and that's it. So that's what they're doing. So I met him, and he's like, okay, we're going to share with you everything. And it seemed like I'm going to have a YouTube live with him in this midterm break, and hopefully let's see how it goes. And Matthew in Malta, I met him because he likes my posts and comments and all these things. And then I told him, because I checked his page out, and he's very concerned about Maltese wildlife. And I met him, and there was at least 1 hour and 1 hour and 30 minutes discussion about Maltese wildlife. From, like, for example, let's say the Maltese crab, freshwater crab, very unique to Malta, and they stretch their face. Of course, it's unique to Malta. It's also very rare because of the rats introduced and plastic pollution. So I'm like, why not you take your time for these 2 months and film Maltese wildlife, whether it's the invasive species of chameleons and all these things. So we sat and organized all these events together, and we're like, let's make 6 episodes. The first about ocean, second about the 2 deserts. Then we've got forests, and we're going to cover the whole planet in these all episodes. And they'll be sharing their knowledge. And of course, the main important thing is, it's not going to be only a negative documentary that, okay, this whale shark is died due to plastic pollution. But it's going to be their importance. What is the importance of whale sharks in the oceans? And what we can do to save them as individuals, of course. Like, if I'm a person who is, he doesn't know what to do. So what can I do as individuals? And what we recently also organized with Lee was that I spoke to her. I'm like, from the 50 entries, we couldn't take most of them. So I'm like, why not just make an art competition for the credit scene at the end? So everyone who joins this thing will actually send us the artworks, the creating documentary. And I told, because you're an artist, I've not been drawing for a very long time. And I told, because you're an artist, you sit and you judge the artworks. And now I think so far 30 artworks she has received, and she's sending me the best of the best. So I'm like, I told her choose top 10 and send it to me, and I will share it on documentary. So it's going to be a good way to inspire people that they can take action. It's not that, okay, everything is lost. And like usually people say that many people are starving in different countries, and we care of climate change. But those things are going to worsen, they're going to worsen by day. And the main thing is that people think like, okay, sustainability or sustainable living is usually about, what we lose, about whether we are going to lose the amount of plastic we use, we lose the driving, the amount of car we drive. But a sustainable future is actually full of gains. It is a future where poverty is ended. It's a future where people's rights are, spread apart and in the same amount. And we can say it's a future where people live in balance with nature. It's a main future that eating more plants bring us healthier and more effective health. So it's the sustainable future is full of gains. And so people, I think, have to mention, they have to think of the gains that a sustainable future can have.
Erfan, when your school first started doing the Educate Global Awards, they did the Bronze Awards, and we introduced the structure where we had the first leadership team. Your head teacher, your principal, Vijaya, she nominated a sustainability and climate literacy lead. I think that was Jyoti. Was that right?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Then she nominated 5 support team members. Then when they went up to the silver awards, each year group now has a leadership team, and they are going to be moving up towards the gold award, where every teacher, I think there'll be 20 teachers in the school, will do the carbon literacy teacher training. And I'm busy working with MIT in America with a project called En-ROADS, and we're rebuilding all of the training for En-ROADS, and that will be your carbon literacy specialist teacher training. And everybody says to me, why are you doing this? Why do you want to do this? And my personal mission is that I want to upskill 100 million teachers in the world so that those teachers can confidently teach emotional literacy, green literacy, climate literacy, and carbon literacy. And the reason I need that is because when we start incorporating these new pathways to higher education, I'm busy building new GCSEs, and one of the GCSEs is called transition engineering. And I know that where we are going is that we need a minimum of maybe even more, 10 million transition engineers. So somebody like you with your passion and your desire for the natural world, you have the capacity and the love and that drive to do transition engineering. And transition engineers will advise governments, they will advise government departments, regions, councils, municipalities, businesses, industries, even individuals on how to transition towards sustainability. All of their systems, they will go in and do a complete documentation, like a what do we call it when we normally go and we do with the UN. I know the UN, they do like a consultation document. They go and they have a look at exactly how something is being delivered in that region and how they can fix it. And that's what a transition engineer is going to be doing. But there are also other GCSEs. We're going to be building something called Rebuild Economics, because we need to change our economic system. There's a fantastic link that I will include under here called Simpol, S-I-M-P-O-L. And I want you all to go and share this and sign up to this. It's very, very good. And this is how all of our governments around the world can sign together and change the systems on one date. You'll see the video. It'll make sense to all of you once you watch it. It's voiced by Sir Mark Rylance. And there are other GCSEs. We want to build an international environmental law GCSE. All of these are to feed up into higher education so that you can go and do those degrees in sustainability. We also, you know, there's a lot of universities now jumping on the bandwagon and quickly creating all sorts of courses. We also need to speak to students that have been doing these courses. So if anybody wants to listen to us and get in touch, I did meet an amazing young lady the other day, Erfan, and I'm going to introduce her to you because she has such a knowledge, a wealth of knowledge on the degree courses in sustainability around the world. She knows where the best one is. And I said to her, you've got to do a talk for me. I offered her a job on the spot. She said no, she's working for a university in Uppsala. And I said, come on, it's cold and dark there. Come and work for me. But she said, oh, I don't know. I said, oh, come on, Bradley. Anyway, but I think that when a school is delivering climate literacy and then carbon literacy, when your teachers are confident with this material, because you are 6 years ahead. They have to catch up to you. But then the rest of your team, the rest of the pupils in your school, they haven't been on the same trajectory as you've been, Erfan. So they want to now, the teachers need to introduce the very little ones from the age of 3 all the way up through to your age group. And with you and your leaders, those Educate Global Eco Team leaders, you are the ones that are now delivering. You're going to be delivering the Carbon Footprint Buster Challenge in school, looking at the data, measuring the food waste, haranguing, getting everybody to change over to a different energy supplier, to a green energy supplier, looking at your data, looking at the statistics, match the stats. And there's also, I don't think you've done it yet, there's also a program called Wild Planet Explorers. And I think that's the one that you're going to love the most. That's the one that's by Joanna McFarlane. She's a biologist. She's like you. She's so passionate about saving the species and the biodiversity. It's very powerful, very powerful. But the more we learn, the more we understand, because I didn't know much of this myself. Erfan, I want to ask you, Has it made a difference in your school? Has it done something at least for the overall understanding? Do you find now that your teachers are starting to build that climate literacy into the lessons? Is it starting to cut through to all of the pupils and their families and your communities?
Yes, ma'am. They are actually now aware of what's going on regarding, let's say, climate change. Because like few years back, I used to do this like a lot of times in my class. I used to take all my specimens of animals, the insect box, the sea urchin. I used to get it into class, and I used to tell them, they're like, they come and ask me, they're like, they took me out of the class. They're like, I have a question for you. They're like, why do you collect these animals? I'm like, you get stung by them, you got bitten by them, so why do you catch them? I'm like, of course, this is a question which I cannot answer because I don't know myself, but then I'm going to make something up for you. I'm like, because we depend on the natural world and we cannot deny it. The air we breathe, the water we drink, everything, even the clothes we wear, everything comes from the natural world. So if I can, more like Charles Darwin, what Charles Darwin did, he visited many places, collect specimens and did research on them. And of course, I not like Charles Darwin, but I don't go and catch animals and preserve them. Whether it's they have died due to natural causes, due to climate change, or due to plastic pollutions. Like the insects above my head, most of them were died due to climate change. And it's usually the case that why the insects died due to climate change? And I always answer them that because it's, of course, like human beings, insects can get overheated. And you usually see them, upside down and dead. And at that time, like when I used to talk in the class about climate change and I used to make videos, most people didn't understand. They're like, okay, it's still raining in my place. It's still snowing. So why should I care? And then as soon as all these events started, you're all aware that, okay, climate change is happening and it's taking place right now and it'll worsen if we don't take action. And all these introductions, let's say, of simply bottles and all these different tactics we have introduced to our school has really made a difference. Like last year, I had given one of my big collection of specimens, the insects and all these things, to year 1 class, year 1I. And then she told me I want to teach my students about the year 1 students about all these, let's say, insects, the number of legs they have and all these things. I said, sure, here you go, there's the specimens. And the students really enjoyed them. Like they were so happy that like when I went to them, they're like, this is really cool. The insects are just awesome. And then I'm like, it's good that you like them. Make sure you don't stamp them when you go outside. Of course, the understanding has changed in our school. Like people really now care much more about wildlife. But of course, there is many things apart from doing for the school that we can do as individuals. And that also can be a branch that we can start from the school. Like they recently introduced planting trees. They asked us to plant trees and observe it for a month. So we're striving now. We're striving to reach a zero waste and zero carbon future as well.
Now I'm going to let you into a little secret. I sponsored 5 of the teachers at your school to do the carbon literacy teacher training. And that was very unusual. We launched it in November last year. And we finished quite late in December. And we were very lucky to get the Professor Petra Martin-Hill, who delivered that training in person. That just doesn't happen. I had to bully, Erfan, like you have those sharp elbows and you insist.
Yeah.
I insisted. I said, Professor Petra, please, can you do this? She said to me, why? I can't. I need professors to facilitate. And I said, please, can we ask university students to facilitate? So she said, look, I'm going to do this for you just the once, and then you must leave me alone. I said, okay.
Yeah.
Promise me, she says, you will stop harassing me. I said, no, that's fine, that's fine. So what we did was we reached out to the university students at Nottingham Trent University, and we wanted 5. And finally, in about 5 minutes, we had 15 students. We had to close it. We had to close this
Yeah.
and we thought, oh my goodness. And what she did was we trained up the facilitators, the students, the university students on a Thursday afternoon for 3 hours. And then they helped us facilitate the teachers on a Monday afternoon. And the interesting thing, one of the students, we asked each week, we were struggling with the technology because we are old. You are all digital natives, Erfan. You've been raised with these things here, these phones and these iPads and these laptops, and you can navigate multiple sites instantly. Your brains, you know, I don't know why. I've got a laptop here, an iPad, a phone, another laptop. Come on, Erfan. I'm still, you know, I still have to. I'm like a tortoise. I get there, but it takes me a long time. And we asked the students, "Can you help us, please?" Because we're struggling a bit with the technology. And each week, the students taught us something new. And one of the students created an infographic. Her name was Chloe Bottomley. Erfan, she designed the carbon sinks in the United Kingdom, and then she showed us an infographic of the carbon sinks in the UAE. And one of your teachers contacted me afterwards. She said, "That's the nicest thing that anybody's ever made for me." She said that I can now go to my students and show them all of the carbon sinks in the UAE. And after that session, I contacted Professor Petra Moulton-Hill and I said, "If you don't give that Chloe Bottomley a book deal, I'm going to give her a book deal, because that is very special what I've just seen there." And what we are now doing, we've sent all of the teachers' coursework to Manchester. It needs to be marked. That reminds me, I need to chase them up. And those teachers will get a certificate, and they will then be certified as the very first carbon literacy teachers in the world, the very first. And the students, those university students, they are going to be the very first Educate Global facilitators, the carbon literacy teacher training facilitators. So what we're going to be doing, Erfan, now that Professor Petra has told me that it's okay, I can harass her. She's not that bothered anymore. She likes me now. She says, "That's fine, but we need more of these. We need to do these." Now, it's interesting you said about Malta. So Professor Moulton-Hill contacted me just before Christmas, and she said there's a funding application that we can apply for. And we've applied. I don't know how we did it. We did 6 months worth of work in about 4 weeks. I didn't sleep for days. And one of our partners, like about 3 days before we had to submit, Professor Petra said, "We need an extra EU partner. You're not going to believe who our EU partner is, that extra one. It is the Malta Water and Energy Board." So we will be, it's interesting that you're saying this about your friend in Malta. So I think that if we do get that funding from the EU, our project is called Climate Change Education for All. And if we do get that funding, then you are going to definitely have to introduce me. We'll have to do a Zoom with your friend in Malta, and we will talk about how this research project with in these schools, because we will be researching in 3 schools in Malta, 3 schools in Poland, 3 in Germany, 3 in England, and 3 in Ireland. And we're going to be to look at how Educate Global actually delivers the core competences of education to society that the ministries of education want. And it's just fascinating to me. I just think how it's interesting how everything interlinks. And you start talking to me about Malta and the Maltese crab, and I'm thinking, Erfan, you must be brought to me from the angels, because how did you even connect this Malta before I even met them?
Yes.
But there's so much going on. Erfan, you know what I would like to do? I'd love to do a research project with every single school in the Arab League of Nations. 22 nations in the Middle East, 22 countries. We need to be working on one big project so that we can find the ways to deliver this climate literacy and carbon literacy in a way that is accessible to every school. We need to build an open source portal so that these teachers and the pupils and their parents have access to all of the Carbon Footprint Buster Challenge, carbon literacy teacher training, En-ROADS. You've got to see En-ROADS. Oh, Erfan, you are going to love it. I can't, you know, Erfan, I know that you are a transition engineer just waiting to be unleashed on the planet.
Yes, so future naturalist, future David Attenborough, yeah.
Erfan, once you've done this training and you've done that GCSE and you've understand how to transition, it will, when you deliver your documentaries around the world, you will follow other transition engineers and make documentaries about how they are transitioning regions and countries and municipalities, because this is how we're going to get our natural world back. This is how we're going to rein everything in and bring it in. Erfan, if you could do one thing, if you could give a message to all of our viewers and all of our listeners today, what's the one thing that you would ask them to do? If they can just do one thing that is going to help sustainability and the natural world, what would you recommend they do?
Well, I think if we exclude being, for example, let's say, understanding of the natural world, is that we have to avoid waste of all types, you know, whether it's waste of food, water, energy, because like that particular waste food can be a food for an animal, can be a food for a person, it can be a food for different things. And I just believe, I saw a documentary called Extinction: The Facts in the UK by David Attenborough. And one of the speakers, one scientist, said that globally, I think so 40% of food is wasted. And that's a lot. 40%. These are 40%. And that's a lot. If we say like, and most of the food we eat is meat based. And it may not sound like believable, I can say, but I've stopped eating meat, red meat, for around, I think, 2 years now.
Me too.
And that was because when I was researching on the Brazilian wildlife for writing my book, I actually wrote a book before when I was in grade 4. And that was kind of a kiddish book, so I couldn't publish it, but it was fun of a research journey. I found out that hectares, huge hectare size of football fields are cleared every month, every week for, you know, creating, let's say, cropland, or to create, you know, the farms for cows and all these things which we eat the meat of. And it was really sad, because now we can say that our planet contains 96%, or indeed 96% of the mammals today are us and the livestock that we have domesticated. So we can say only 4% of the mammals are on everything else, let's say lions or tigers or badgers or whatever else. So only 4% of our wildlife. And of course, I think yourself, it could be that the main inspiration for you to do this was whenever I asked my parents, my grandparents, and I asked them, like, have you seen this Arabian gazelle before? And they're like, in our time, these were just in huge numbers. They were in huge numbers. So it's not something that I'm interested, because I've seen this a lot. But now, like, when I see them, it's like less than half. And it's really sad, because people don't understand the dependency on wildlife. Like, even my friends, like the ones which I made them interested in animals and plants, I used to ask them, like, let's come and have a beach cleanup one day. They're like, why should I do it? I live in a city. I live in the middle of a you know, urbanized country and an urbanized city. So I don't relate to the natural world. And I'm like, it's quite astonishing, because, you know, the water you're drinking, it straight away comes to your pipe, and the pipe source is the natural world. The air you breathe comes from the natural world. Everything is on from the natural world. And I give them reasons. I show them pure reasons of what's going on around us. And one of the things was that I recently started my own insect collection, which is containing all these live insects. And I showed them, I said, look at this bee. This bee is the most important pollinator on earth. And without this, we cannot have our plants, we cannot have our crops. So what do you eat then? They're like, okay, I didn't know that. So then he started coming into the scene of taking action for animals and plants. And then I'm like, okay. So then, but the main thing was that I hate insects. I'm scared of spiders. And once I called him during these online lessons, I called him. I told him, come to my house. He's like, okay. And I took him to a place. The main thing which actually inspired me to take care of the planet was that it's really astonishing that, you know, it's really like beyond our imaginations, that wildlife exists in the most unexpected places. On our own faces, we have got face mites. In our homes, we have got dust mites and still spiders. And like I took him to a park. There were small grass areas near to the roads. And I told him, you know, this area is like, yes. I told, just wait till the dusk and you will see different creatures coming here. And he found slugs and spiders and all these things. And I made him hold a spider that night, and he learned quite a lesson. That until we let wildlife come close to us, we won't get harmed from it. And most of us actually, you know, kill wildlife, let's say of insects or spiders, because we're like, okay, this insect is going to bite me or it's going to sting me. But then that wolf spider, which we are, I still have it alive here, and it's enjoying its day, very healthy and very fat. So he told, what if it bites me? I told, okay, it's going to bite you. I'm going to hold it first in my hand. And then his world changed. I never knew that spiders, if you let them come to you and you rather than holding them, it's going to change. And so, you know, ma'am, I think that the main understanding of the natural world is the first step. The second step is to reduce the waste of energy. Of course, energy, like I mean by like driving less cars. Like when you can go to the metro by walking and to the grocery, why take a car with you? And of course, let's say, okay, I don't care about climate change. It's good for your health as well. It's good for your heart. It's good for your health. It's good for your, you know, sense of well-being as well. And the main thing is that I myself, the main thing that I love the natural world is that when I go there, everything is relief. Like if I have a stress, if I have an anger, everything is gone. And it's really proved by scientists that it is, you know, something that motivates us and removes us from all these daily things. And that's it. Like whenever I have stress of studies and all these things, whatever I do, whether I feed these insects over here, or whether I do some research on all these animals I've got here. And of course, more of them that are here. But then like usually it's a sad story which is going on. Like the squid which I preserved had around 5 grams of plastic in it. So that was something which was sad enough. A small squid, Caribbean deep squid. And then, for example, the feast that I preserved was like also shot by a human being. And the main thing which makes me frustrated is that we have got fish markets all around us, containing all variety of fishes, like maybe like every species that you can think of. So why go and fish? Why go and, you know, like kill crabs in the oceans? Because we're already, you know, overfishing the oceans enough. Like bluefin tuna, Atlantic bluefin tuna, their numbers have collapsed in very dramatic ways. And so like, why go and, you know, fish when you can go and take the, take the things or take the food from the fish market? Because like usually what happens, like when you can buy it already, because they're being overfished, like many of the fishes spoil and they threw it away. So like, why go and catch all these things from the environment? You know, when I go and I see them, I just get very frustrated. And I go to them like, sir, why are you catching these? Like we eat them. I'm like, I have nothing to say then. It's usually the case of that. And then maybe I think it's fear-based, like, or maybe I think show off a bit. Because I was a few months back in a beach called Mamzer Beach near to my house. And then there was this man walking around, and he came there. We have got this blue blubber jellyfish down here. This thing is not dangerous. It only causes a bit of itch. And then this person came and like as he was walking, he was catching all these jellyfishes throwing out of the water. I'm like, I went to him like, why are you doing this? They sting. I'm like, I know they sting, but then like, you know, this jellyfish itself can be a food for a sea turtle, can be a food for a moonfish, can be a food for different animals. And like, I didn't know this, and I always, my whole body was getting stung by them. I swam till the middle and I released all these jellyfishes. So I think it's people have to get themselves close to the natural world. And I think it starts with children. That's why it's usually like I make all these online sessions about animals. And I had this online session in the summer break where I had many children a part of it. And then at the end, when I got the results, they were all amazed. They're like, I was scared of the spider, but I'm no more scared of it. I was scared of this, and it made you understand about the natural world. They're like, I never knew about bioluminescent animals. I'm like, of course, my favorite is bioluminescent creatures. And that's why their eyes got really opened, because the last session that I had out of, I think, the 10 sessions, was about sustainability and climate change. And all it was a 1 hour long thing, but there was some motivation between like videos, and the children's absolutely love the drawing we kept at the end. There was all these drawing of animals at the end, step by step, and they drew it very nicely. And I found that one of the students, one of the children that were there, I think a 9-year-old child, one of the teachers of our school's child only, one of my favorite teachers. and he said that as soon as your lessons were over, before that, my child didn't even touch the pencil to draw. But now every single day is drawing a new art and give it to me. All about animals. I'm like, that can be an inspiration. So drawing animals can be an inspiration. And of course, learning about how the web of life works is also another inspiration. Like, ma'am, you may think that like this Arabian gazelle skull that I've got here, I think you can bring it here right now. You may think that, okay, this is, I preserve it myself. But it was actually the preservation by nature. So when I found it, it was dead next to a tree, like it was skeleton next to a tree. And it was filled with different species of animals, like beetles, especially cactus beetles. And it is actually surprising that this Arabian gazelle skull itself is the beetles inside it are the same thing that are used to preserve animals in the museums. Like when you go to a museum, all these skeletons of animals are presented. All these things, they use cactus beetles to do the same. And I'm actually researching on cactus beetles right now. I've got some good populations of living beetles right now, and they feed on everything. They feed on all these when I want to preserve a shell, when I want to preserve a animal that I find that I want to preserve the skeleton. So they all do all these things. But then unfortunately, ma'am, like this is of course the waste of nature. It's the waste of nature. When an animal dies, it gets ended up in the natural world. But our waste is plastic. Our waste is all these oily materials. Our waste is carbon dioxide. Our waste is, and it's really like it's frustrating to know that all these wastes are taking place. And then the natural world tries to recycle everything up, but we are not recycling anything up. And the recent study was shown, I actually found this recently, that because of plastic pollution in the oceans and fishing it, eating it, it seems like that it's found that the newborn children or newborns in the mother's stomach have got plastic in them, have got microplastic in them. And that was mind blowing. I'm like, okay, plastic has come back to us. Plastic has come back to us.
How do we get rid of it, Erfan? How do you think, how can we, because we have to stop using plastic altogether. We have to globally, it has to be something where we make laws that it's got to be, how do we stop using it? How did we get to this point? We need to find out how.
Isam, there are many ways. I've tried myself. Well, I think the best way is that, like, the same way as you're saying, threaten people. Threaten that if you throw this thing in the oceans,
Wait, I
it's going to
don't
come back.
threaten them. I don't threaten them. I harass them.
Yeah. It's the same. Like, I tell them, I told one of my friends, he's like, he brought a plastic bottle to school. I'm like, first of all, this plastic bottle is very unhealthy. You put your water every day after a while, you have to throw it away because it creates toxins by its own. And then I'm like, it's going to be quite awesome because don't think that what we throw away does not, what we throw away does not go away. It comes back to us. You throw away, the fish eats it. You catch the fish, you eat it. Whatever the plastic is inside you again. And the very fascinating thing is that the natural world has very extraordinary powers, and that's the main thing that the documentary is about. The sun, the volcanoes, the natural forces all work together to, create this astounding planet which we call home. As David Attenborough says, a perfect planet. A really perfect planet. Well, like, they are doing things at such a dramatic scale that animals are hardly getting time to adopt. Insects are not getting a time to adopt. And of course, we can say climate change has gone around in all Earth's history. During the time of dinosaurs, during the Earth's formation of life, because life began 3.8 billion years ago.
Quickly, Erfan, not at the rate that it's moving down.
Exactly.
You can see that graph going right up like that. In history, it's gone like that, and you just now in the last 100 years, it's just climbing.
Yes, exactly. And there was this thing which was shared to me around 1 year back, and I was just surprised. I saw 37 animals extinct due to human beings in history of planet. 36 actually a lot. Like, all of them were like something which we only heard in stories or our grandparents speaking to us about it. And the recent extinction that I saw was a fish in China. I forgot the name. It was the Chinese paddlefish. And it got extinct due to overfishing. People couldn't save it. The second one was 2 species got extinct due to climate change. One was the golden frog, and was Menomin's mouse, a mouse species that got extinct due to the rise in sea levels. The amount of animals we kill is because it seems that we are triggering the 6th mass extinction. Like, the first was about the main thing which happened in the oceans, the same temperature of the oceans changed, causing. But now, ma'am, this mass extinction that is taking place will, of course, wipe out human beings on Earth. because we can see that slowly as the sea levels rise, we saw even in the UN courses that you had shared with us, that cities, villages are being slowly covered by the rising sea levels. And of course, when I speak to all these things in the class also, they're like, we can live in different places. We can live on Mars. But I'm like, is it 100% that you can live on Mars? Is it 100%?
Why
They're like,
would
no,
I
it's
want to
not.
go and live on Mars? I'm quite happy to live
Exactly.
here on Earth. Thank you very much. I don't want to go and live on Mars.
Yeah, they're like, Mars is bigger than Earth. And I'm like, maybe. And they're like, okay,
Mars
we'll go
doesn't
to.
have Mars doesn't have trees and rivers, and it's just a red planet.
Yes, so exactly, just a red planet. Then we go. I'm like, okay, you're going to go to Mars. Maybe it's going to be something that's going to be. It's going to happen, not in my lifetime, but even maybe 200, 300 years later. Well, like, what are you going to do now? 10 years later, we cannot fight against climate change. We only have got 10 years, and that's it. And then all these things, we're gonna give them the reasons. They're like, okay, then we have to take action. And then most of them always have the doubt. Like whenever I ask them, what can we do for the animals? And the main thing is that saving them in our backyards. There are many things which we can do, you know. And mom, I think the best thing is that, of course, I always on my Instagram account. That's the more thing which I'm most active in. I ask questions. I'm like, if you had the choice, if you had a big garden, would you plant artificial trees, non-native trees, or native trees? Most of them are like whether artificial trees or non-native trees. But the main thing is one native. I'm like, if you want to attract native wildlife, attract native trees, because you know, because I'm like, actually, what my researchers find out, especially the researching, because I've been planting many animals, many plants, especially like in my balcony also. The main thing is that the plants that grow in the UAE, for example, are uniquely adapted for UAE's conditions. And as that way, they can produce more oxygen for us. They can take in more carbon dioxide. If I bring an avocado, for example, here, its rate of growing is going to be very slow. It'll die in the starting itself because the soil quality, the amount of heat, and all these things. But then, like, as ma'am, like what was asked by you, ma'am, was like how we can stop plastic pollution. The main thing is that threatening them. It'll come back to you, so don't throw it in the oceans. And the good thing, that the main thing is that plastic never goes away, and especially in the ocean system where every animal is dependent on each other. The blue whale is dependent on the krill, the very smallest of creatures, and then those krill is the give food to the fishes and the other wildlife. And actually, the tomorrow session I'm going to have about biodiversity and sustainability is going to give the reason on why animals eat plastic. Are they dumb? Is it that they are liking the taste, or is it just something which is turning out in the ecosystem? But the fact is that most animals actually eat plastic due to, let's say, the smell, because like sharks hunt due to the smell, or fishes and all these animals. And it actually starts with the krill. When plastic ends up in the oceans, algae grows on it. And when the algae is eaten by krill, the methyl sulfide is released, the MS. And that attracts animals to come. So instead of coming and eating the krill, they come and eat the plastic, because the same the chemical that is created by the krill is also created by plastic as well. So instead of coming and feeding on the krill, they feed on the plastic. And because sea turtles also feed on jellyfish, they mistake jellyfish by plastic bags, especially like it is believed that older sea turtles target soft and translucent plastic. And the very fascinating thing that I didn't notice, I recently found out, it's really mind-blowing that like we think that, okay, when an animal eats the plastic, done, it is eaten, it goes away. But then like when the animal eats the plastic, it's going to cause it a very slow and painful death. It won't happen in a couple of days. It may take years for the animal to die. And then when it dies and it is eaten by different creatures or decomposed, the same plastic eaten by the animal is again released into the oceans. So it doesn't go away. Like it never goes away. So of course we release 9 million tons of plastic every year in the oceans. But if we stop that plastic, of course, it's already like for many years since the age of when the plastic was created, still those plastic can be found in the oceans. But then by doing that, at least we are, minimizing the amount of plastic that we are keeping in the oceans every year. Because like people are saying, scientists are saying that if we don't stop, by 2050, there's going to be more plastic than fish. And to be honest, I don't want that. I want to be in a place where I can explore coral reefs, I can explore the natural world on its most, on its most extraordinary. And the main thing is, I'm like, I wish that it was only plastic pollution. but then we are throwing everything at the natural world: climate change, overfishing, plastic pollution, poaching, and all these impacts are like truly killing wildlife. And slowly, slowly, without us realizing, it's like it's coming back to us.
We will sort it out, Erfan. I think that if there are enough of you and enough that you will be leading in your school with your leadership team, and you have teachers that are understanding these concepts and teaching from the age of 3 right up to 19, the more schools that are delivering a cross-curricular climate curriculum, then the more we will understand. And we, at the end of the day, we want to ensure that we are living a confident life, a happy life, a secure life. So we always place our futures on money. So we need to know this stuff if we want to have a job. If, those are going to be the jobs of the future. Erfan, I would like to include the link to your talk tomorrow in this talk. So even if the viewers miss it, they'll still be able to watch it afterwards, won't they? They'll be able to go onto your site and watch it again, won't they?
They can watch it again, but I think they will lose a chance of doing the quiz and doing the quiz itself.
All right, so how can we get to that? What's the details? What's the link that we need to go to?
Of course, ma'am, there was a registration link that was shared on my website, and many people registered on it. And it's basically an understanding sort of game. So we are like, if you understand in the PowerPoint, if you listen carefully, if you ask your question, whatever you have, and you get full marks, it's, I think, out of 30 marks, the whole quiz is out of 30 marks.
Yeah.
If you get 28, 29, or 30 out of all these, you're going to get a certificate. Your very official certificate of sustainability and biodiversity ambassadors. You can tell, okay, I know everything about biodiversity and sustainability. I can take action. And
fantastic, Erfan.
And I'm trying to also like inspire them, because as I think, ma'am, I sent you the link as well. I've been featured in the wildlife blogger crowd by Kate Conservationist.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wrote the same. She of course loves wildlife and thus she's conserving it. I'm like, why not if I start my whole global team of children, people, adults, small, big, young, old, on joining the nature ambassadors on my website and being known that I'm a nature ambassador on our planet website. And so
what is the website? What's the domain? www?
It's actually on Wix, www.erfan.firouzi720.wix/our-planet.
What we will do, Erfan, is we will put that link onto your page and everybody can go and have a look. Get your children, mums, dads, aunties, uncles, cousins, all your family members, everybody, go and have a look, start brushing up, getting to know. You got to buy Erfan's books, got to follow this young man. He's going to be joining me with the Maltese team when we go and do that research. Erfan, I'm very, very proud. I'm very proud.
They were discussing about Maltese wildlife, like especially when Matthew was speaking to me, I was only listening. I was like so surprised. Maltese has this, Maltese has that. And I actually called him into the documentary because I saw one of his videos where he went and discussed about with scientists and biologists in a turtle rehabilitation center. And I'm like, it's going to be great for the first episode of Our Planet. I'm like, you join us. And then also he was the first person to join the nature ambassadors as well. And he's doing a lot for, Maltese wildlife. So I told him, you do this for the documentary. I told him, you go find the scientists and biologists in the same turtle rehabilitation center and you speak to them. You speak to them like, how can we speak to them about everything about Maltese wildlife, and tell us what we can do for Malta. Because of course Malta is, when he's like, I'm from Malta, I didn't know where it was. So I did some research and I'm like, okay, you're from Malta, it's going to be great. So I'm like, what are the wildlife over there? And the wildlife list was never ending. It was to keep on going. I'm like, okay, you tell me next time, I have to go. Yeah, so it is a lot of different insects and animals.
We're going to learn so much, Erfan. There's just so much. There's too much in one talk, one session with you. We can only do so much. We want to come again and again. You've got to talk to us again. You've got to talk to us about your documentary, You got to show us, do a special screening for us. Got to show us what's happening in your school with the Carbon Footprint Buster Challenge and how you are recruiting other schools to compete against. There's lots and lots. I've got to go. Everybody, I wish I could sit here. Erfan, I could sit and talk with you forever. I love it. I love it. I'm so proud of you. We are so proud. You just keep going. Don't stop. Never give up. Never, ever give up. So everybody, all the links are going to be below. If you want to have a sustainable school, if you want to have pupils that are engaged and as passionate as Erfan, you've got to get with the program. So get in touch with us at support@educateglobal.org. We cannot thank your teachers enough, Erfan, for getting behind this, for your head teacher, your principal. It's incredible. And we're going to be doing another talk with you, and we'll be having other interviews with you. And we're going to talk to you about the UN courses that you've been doing and these courses that are coming with En-ROADS and with the carbon literacy training. There's lots on its way, Erfan. I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just getting warmed up.
Exactly. There's a lot to speak about, a lot about the natural world, a lot there is.
Right, Erfan? Have an amazing day, and to everybody else, if you've
same to you as well, ma'am. Have an amazing day and an amazing weekend as well. Our weekend is ending tomorrow, so
I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'm going to when is it? It's on Saturday. I'm coming and joining your event.
Oh, yes, as well. This Saturday we have got a sustainable and biodiversity class, and next Saturday I'm going to meet with Emily, I think, from UK. She's going to take me on a journey to a beetle collection and about the scientists. She's actually a scientist, so she's going to speak to me about that as well.
Amazing. Amazing. Have an amazing day. And everybody, if you have enjoyed listening to this, don't forget Sustainable Schools. That's where it's at. Educate Global. We are going to be spreading this knowledge around the world super fast. We want to upskill 100 million climate and carbon literacy teachers throughout the world within the next 2 years. And we need your help to do that. So if you want to be a facilitator, you want to be a school delivering this, or you're a parent that wants your child to be doing Wild Planet Explorers, mini climate readers, Erfan's programs, give us a shout. Have an amazing one, everybody. And we will be seeing you all on the other side.
Yes,
bye, Erfan.
Have a great day as well. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for having me today.
See you later. Bye.